Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next session of From Nothing, Tam's story.
Yay!
Now, this session is the time skip episode where we handle the rest of the year after the Fall Festival for Tam, and so this session is going to be a completely different format from every other one we've played.
New things. Love it.
So, let's dive right in. The Fall Festival is over. You might not have made it to the end, but you did accomplish a lot, as well as come out of it with new scars, stories, and a good idea of what live combat might be like. First and foremost, after the break, you are now busier than you've ever been before. But unlike before the Fall Festival, your missions and free agencies have grown tedious. You spend days at a time on stakeout in nearby towns, waiting to see if a person appears, which they often don't. You've escorted so many caravans to Augur City from the Ferrum markets that you could probably ride that stretch of road with your eyes closed. Where at one point you likely got attached to a horse. That horse was rented to someone else, and then your next horse got sick. And so many horses since then have gone by that you're not sure when they stopped really meaning something to you, beyond just a means of travel. You've spent days in the Ferrum market, just standing around, little more than a security guard for a Tridonian merchant or a Terraconan trader offering rare wares. It can be exhausting. All the while, the lessons with Tally have grown fewer and shorter. At first it was class 4 times a week and duties once, and now you find yourself performing menial mercenary work 4 days a week and only having a day, at best, to work on your studies. Knowing this, and knowing how your time is spent for the Academy, Tam, how does this year go for you?
So, Tam has always been he's always been kind of a workaholic, but he doesn't really mean to be. It's just that's just what he was kind of raised in. And he does not respond well to boredom.
Sure he doesn't.
So I think that, especially, like, the free agencies, they're always with other people, though, right?
Not always. The
Okay.
mercenary work, wherein you are the very tedious ones that are literally unfortunately, the bread and butter, where you are standing around being a mercenary. Just your
Sure.
presence is often enough. Those are often solo, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it would become very clear that Tam doesn't do as well by himself. Those are not the jobs that go well. I mean, like, it's not that they don't, it's not, I don't know, I'm happy to make some rolls about if he fucks up and how hard.
Oh, it doesn't, let me
but
interrupt you there, because the Marigard Mercenary Academy would explain this to Tam. It doesn't matter how poorly you do. It doesn't matter if you fail or succeed on these tedious, menial, almost manual labor-ish, just mercenary
Sure.
grunt work. You have to know how to do it.
Sure.
And so you have to go through those paces.
And I think this reminds him very much of the kind of shit that he used to have to do at the temple. It's not, like, quite as bad as and I think also because he's a lore bard, he's probably having to study more. He's having to do maybe a little bit more books, and these kinds of things. So I think that, like, the second half of the year, like, the Fall Festival is kind of a highlight, and he gets to feel like he's still disappointed in himself for not, like, finishing that battle, but he probably kind of feels a little bit disheartened by the fact that it is so similar in such a familiar way.
Yeah.
Which I do think means that he would throw himself all the more into being a bard, and every time he can do music. And I am sure that, like, every time he's doing a menial task, if he does have a partner, he's going to try to make them laugh. He's going to try to make a game of something. Like, he does a really great job. Like, he's good at getting people to talk.
Sure.
And over this time, he is learning, I think, how to temper himself, like, a little bit. So that he's, like, he's still Tam, he's still a lot, but he's, like, kind of reining in that theater kid energy a little bit. He's also going to grow a little goatee around this time. Like this is where the like the 20 this I put his he leveled up. His last 2 points went into charisma. So this is where his 20 charisma comes from. Is
Sure.
where he's learning how to rein himself in a little bit. And I think that's probably a lot of that is from just talking to people on his menial tasks because that's like he'd go crazy otherwise. He has to be talking to people and social and making friends. Or he wouldn't be able to like sit still.
Right. Okay. So, we'll get back to that in a moment. In the first maybe month or so, Tally, one of the times you're in the class, she pulls you aside and she says, Tam, have we talked about what it is you have to do to graduate? I don't remember.
I think I asked you a long time ago, and you said something about... Did I have to write a song or something? I can't remember. You said that there was a trial of some kind.
There is. But first and foremost, what you have to do is you have to write a story or tell a tale that I've never heard before.
Oh.
So you're going to have to find one.
That's gonna be hard.
Aye.
You know a lot of
manage
stories.
I sure do. So make sure it's a new one. And she raises an eyebrow at you.
I'm not... Can I make it up?
No.
Okay.
All the best stories are based in reality. Tam, you know that.
Okay. So where do I go? Can I go somewhere to find the story?
In your free time. Aye.
Oh,
You have
wow.
a year.
Okay. I have a year.
Well.
Okay.
Maybe 10 months now.
Okay. So I have to go away from here then if I'm going to find a story that you don't know.
Probably.
Oh, wow. That's hard.
I'm sure on one of your escort jobs you're going to get far away enough that you'll find something. Talk to people. Tam, be a bard. Learn stories.
Yeah, I'm good at that. I'm good at talking to people. Okay. Okay, I'll bring you a story.
You'll know if I've heard it before.
Why? Because you'll give me a look?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I get multiple tries at this or just one?
You only get to tell me a whole story once.
So I better make it good. I better make it count.
Better make it count.
What about the other bards? Are they same test?
Nope.
Oh. Cool. Okay. All right. Challenge accepted. I'll find a story for you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
So, that is going to be an example of what vignettes are going to be during this session. But that is your criteria to graduate and become a contractor. You must find a story that Tally has not heard.
Out of character, do I need to find that this session?
No.
Okay.
You can say you're working toward it, but your graduation and the test before it is next session.
Okay. Got it.
So.
I think at night, after the fall festival, because this kid is broke after the fall festival.
Yeah.
And he is determined to save up the money. He learned about the spell Legend Lore from Lorna. Yep. Because she wanted to cast it on, I think, her necklace or some other thing. Like, she has all these kind of cool gifts and gadgets, and she's a wizard. And he knows that Tabernac can cast that, and he really wants to understand where this sword came from. Okay. And in fact, I think as Tam is sort of thinking about it, he has this conversation with Tally, and he sort of turns Soul Singer over in his hand and thinks, I bet this sword has a story that isn't all the way told, that maybe Tally doesn't know. But he won't be able to know that story without a little help. So he is going to work as much as he can at the Physicry And probably also with Glass if he can, especially on like weekends for a while, to try to get the ivory required
Okay.
to fund Legend lore for his
So
sword.
if this is going to be a primary focus of Tam's, making money, especially around all your other mercenary work, it's going to be difficult. Because there's going to be a lot of days where Tam just doesn't have the time. That being said, I'd like you to roll me a couple rolls. Firstly, I'd like a performance check.
I'm on it. Can I have advantage because I've got Soul Singer? Because I get advantage on performance checks. Rad for me. 6 and a 7. 16.
Okay.
I am back to Tam and his terrible rolls.
So it is. How it is sometimes. All right. Thank you. Next, I need an insight check.
That's much better. 19.
Okay. And lastly, I need a D100.
Okay. $62.
62, that's not bad. Okay, it takes you, basically of working in all your free time, assisting Zurich, and also just working with Glass when he has the requirement. It's not always every night that Glass needs help. But it takes about 3 months to earn the money and the ivory.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, that'll be his main goal. I mean, I imagine he's not going to have a lot of time. Or, like, are we all... Is his whole team, like, equally busy around this time?
Yeah, you haven't even, like... There are days where you won't even see any of the members of your team. You're just...
Okay.
Everyone is... Like, the Fall Festival was basically... The Merryguard uses it as an opportunity to see how competent everyone is. And then when they see how competent they are, they put them to work to learn hands-on. So there are days where you won't even see Sigona, or you definitely won't see Nore for like weeks at a time, as she's off doing her own work. So.
Okay. So it seems like after we graduated the Fall Festival, we're kind of like in a little bit of a different class of we're not being babied anymore. We're not being kind of handheld. We're like, okay, go do the basic work. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he works with Zurich. Is there something with Zurich that I was going to ask about? Is there a possibility, is there a possibility in his work with Zurich that he can get a couple of steps toward the healer feat?
We can work on that over the year if you'd like. Try and adapt some of the skills that you pick up from Zurich. Zurich is constantly performing complicated surgeries and rapid medical procedures on people that, at a glance, are beyond you. But as you're watching them, you can start making progress towards the healer feat. And if this is something you want to do, we can absolutely accomplish it over this time skip.
Yeah, he's... I think that's something that he would lean into. Tam kind of came into this life with a really limited and fully divine understanding of what healing is. And I think one of his like primary shifts that he's made through his months so far and year at the Merryguard Academy is he's kind of learned to look at healing in this really different way that isn't dependent on the gods. And it's so interesting because like in a lot of ways the rest of his life is very dependent on the gods. Like he's like if he had time to be hanging out with the clerics a lot with his mercenary stuff, he totally would. Like the divine stuff has always been a draw for him. But I think that like especially with the war happening, like I think this is sort of the way that he kind of takes his mind off of that, because that's his primary worry this whole time would be about the war in KO. And I don't know if it would be possible for him to like get ascending or something to somebody to just make sure that that like his sister's okay, his dad is okay. Last time we left him, he had sent a letter, like I think months ago, with the 100 gold back to his family, being like, "Hey, I went to be a bard. I love you all very much, and I will be back, but it won't be to take over the temple." And so, like, but he hasn't really heard from them since. And now there's war, and now there's an embargo, and like I think with every passing day, that more than anything, I think would wear on him a little bit more.
Sure. Okay. Firstly, going for the healer's feat. Yes, this is something he can work on. If you were... I'm going to ask for some rolls just to see how long it takes him to get it.
Sure.
So the first roll I need is a perception check.
Okay. Fishing in that now. Natural 20! 24.
Okay. As you said, this matters to Tam. He's paying close attention to Zurich and Annika as they're working. And even though he is performing to try and assist their work, he's also watching carefully as it's occurring. Please roll me a medicine check.
His proficiency in this, too. That's a good roll, too. 22.
22.
Natural 18.
Okay. With how much you're working and how much you're paying attention, it's maybe 3 months into your time skip that Zurich looks to Tam and he says, "Don't think I haven't noticed how closely you're watching. Why don't you take a stab at this?" And
okay.
There's like an open cut, like a laceration in an adventurer's leg that Zurich is standing over. And he just holds open the tray of the medical kit with the thread and needle and the really complicated healing salves in there. Go on.
Okay. He will be clearly not prepared. Like, it's not that he's not prepared, it's just that he wasn't expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like 20 seconds where he kind of fumbles, and then it occurs to him to look up at the adventurer. And he kind of brushes his fingers over their like shoulder and says, "I got this. You're gonna be all right." And then he gets to work.
Okay. Please roll me a sleight of hand.
A 9? That's
a 9. Okay. This attempt doesn't go super great. It takes you a few tries. Over maybe a week, Zurich sees that you do seem to have potential, though. He's seen you pick up his own practices. And even though you might not have the motor, like the muscle memory of stitching, like Zurich does, it's clear you know what to do.
I think the important thing is there's a moment after he doesn't really succeed that he has spell slots and he has a free cure wounds, and like he doesn't do that. He makes the choice to like he messed it up, and like there's this pregnant moment where he kind of looks up at Zurich and he looks up at the face of the adventurer in pain, and he really, really wants to just kind of make it better the way that he knows how to do that. And then he picks the needle back up.
With that in mind and the practice, and Zurich starts showing you exercises after you've basically proven yourself. It's 3 months after the beginning of your time skip that you earn the healer feat.
Incredible. Okay. The other thing he would, since he was working on developing, there were 2 things he was working on developing before the time skip. And one of those was Sagona was teaching him proficiency in medium armor.
Yep.
I personally think that if he's been this if he's been kind of he barely sees Sagona. He's really exhausted all the time. He's doing all these things. He's working after like work is over. I like he was working. He was like really dedicated and working really hard on it at first, before the fall festival, and then he kind of fell off of it. He kind of fell off of it a little, and then I imagine there's like he hasn't seen Sagona in like a week and a half, and then Sagona's like, "Hey, we're gonna do your thing," and he like fully isn't as good as it, fully isn't as limber, and then Sagona like can make fun of him until he gets back on the horse with it.
Yeah, sure. For the sake of it, roll me athletics and a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. 11 on the con save.
Okay.
15 on the athletics.
All right. Tam doesn't finally get the wielding of medium armor very well until 6 months into the time skip.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
It's almost, it's like Sagona just drills it into him out of habit at this point. But he does eventually get it. So, you can go ahead and mark that on your sheet that you've gained medium armor proficiency.
Excellent. Okay, so we got healer feet, got healer feet, we got I don't know how much he sees Norre now, but he would want to learn, specifically he would want to learn Vicious Mockery from her, and like tell her the story of how many times he saw fucking Maxwell twice in the fall festival, and he didn't have sharp enough words to say. He just wanted to like give a parting shot, and he didn't know how to make it hurt, and Norre knows how to make it hurt, and can she teach him?
Roll me a persuasion.
Don't natural one, this is 16.
16. Yeah, Norre would find that amusing. And yeah, she would show Tam the methods of insulting someone with magic.
Excellent. I think also he really respects her swordplay. He would, if they ever have time and are together, he would like to like learn anything she has to teach him about the fighting. He's already proficient in rapiers, but like for flavor.
Sure, I'll say that like he can pester Norre into practicing every once in a while. But I don't think there's a mechanical benefit that you would gain. No. Especially considering just how tired they both are at this point.
How tired they both are, yeah. I mean, I think if nothing else, like he really wants to be friends with Norre. Like he's been gunning to be friends with Norre like since day one. And I don't know if he ever cracks that nut, but like it definitely is a side project. He would go to her shows sometimes if she ever plays at the... There was that one moment where she played at the bar, she played at the like sailor, the ship stool, and he went and he stayed for her whole set, and they had like a good moment at the end of that. And like he remembers that. He remembers that could have been a seed of friendship, and he has not let go.
Okay. For the sake of it, roll me a straight charisma roll.
Betty. 11.
11. There's something about Tam, it seems, that just gets on Norre's nerves. It seems as though, and Tam notices, if Norre and Tam spend longer than a period of time together, Norre's patience just seems to wither. And like what she says gets shorter and shorter until she's like outright in a bad mood.
Gotta learn to let it go, man. I don't know if he has. I don't know if he has. I think what has happened is he has gotten better at gauging the amount of time that she can stand him, and leaving before that time is up.
Sure. At this point, we're maybe halfway through the time skip. We're at like the 5-month mark. Perhaps later on, that could improve, but that's where it is right now. Unfortunately, you didn't roll a success, but you didn't roll a catastrophic failure. So I don't want to say an improvement, but it's not a detriment.
Sure, it's not a detriment. You know, we love that for me.
Yeah.
Okay, we got medium armor. We got vicious mockery from Nore. We have the ivory for legend lore.
Yes.
I think that would be like I think that takes him like three months. So he would do that right away. And I think he would also spend a lot of time just talking to Soulsinger. Like, Soulsinger gave him some good advice before the Fall Festival and during the Fall Festival. And I think he would just write down a lot of the sword's stories.
Okay. One moment, please. Okay. Okay, so... Sorry, I had to find my notes on this freaking sword.
You're okay.
Alright. You've acquired the ivory needed. You've acquired the gold needed to make legend lore work. And you bring Soulsinger to Tabernac.
Yes.
Okay. When you do, Tabernac would look at you and he would say, "Are you sure you wish to know this blade's origin?"
Is there a reason I shouldn't?
There's like a hesitation, and Tabernac says, "Some sentient item were created in terrible circumstances."
Terrible, like imprisonment, like torture?
Mayhaps, or against their will, or without their knowing. It's impossible to know.
Give me a second. Soulsinger, you mind if I cast a spell on you? I should have asked.
Let me roll a thing. What's the worst that could happen?
That's what I thought. I think it'll be good to know. Soulsinger says she's okay with it.
Tabernac looks at you in brass dragon form, just huge eyes. And he... Well, she won't be seeing what we will be seeing.
Well, but it didn't occur to me to ask, and it seemed polite. I would like to know.
Very well. Please...
Thank you.
Yes, please place the sword on my enchanting table. And Tabernac turns into human form, and you see as he's like gathering up the materials. And he holds out a hand to you.
Tam takes it.
Okay. As Tabernac casts the spell, your vision clouds over. You no longer see Tabernac's classroom, or himself, or the sword in front of you. Instead, your senses are taken out of you and brought long before. You're not sure how long ago you're looking. What you see is a young, maybe 20, 30-year-old, 30 year old, 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 You note that she has remarkably, like, for the moment as you see her, and it's almost like she's looking back at you. Bless you. It's like she's looking back at you, and you know that she has the deepest, most pure brown eyes you've ever seen. And then you see that she's running. It doesn't look like she's running to get away from something, but she's in a hurry, and she's climbing the steps up to a massive fortress. As you're looking at it, the fortress is beneath a black sky. But not black as night. It's black with smoke. And as you're looking at it, you see there is a battle occurring. There is a huge fight occurring between what looks like... Roll me a history check.
Oh. 13?
You've seen them in paintings. These are old Galicia forces. Back before Aurelia was Aurelia.
Whoa.
They're wearing the old, like, it's almost like a brown and blue banner with a huge coat of arms with a serpent across it. You know it when you see it because you have seen it painted and artistic portrayals of this very thing. As a lore bard, you in particular would know what you're looking at. But this fight is occurring between them and what looks like forces that are atop the backs of wyverns.
Ooh, that's cool.
This battle is taking place all around this fortress, and you see that these wyverns are crashing into the battlements and dropping what look like flaming casks all over this castle that this halfling is running up to the gates of. You watch as the halfling runs up to the gates, then back around to the side into a servant's entrance, and it's like you're right next to her as she is sprinting. She climbs up into this fortress, and you see that she runs up to this human-looking man. He looks ancient, almost stereotypical old wizard appearance. But you see that he is standing over this large pedestal, and you hear Soul Singer's voice say... One minute as I find the name. Aurelius, it's now or never. And the man turns to look at the halfling. And he nods. And you hear him say, "Are you sure about this, Elowen?" She nods, and you watch before he can say anything else. The halfling draws a rapier from her belt. It doesn't look like Soulsinger. It's a very plain-looking rapier. But she slashes her arm with it and holds it out to him. And she says, "Do it, or I'll bleed out now and it won't matter." Looking as though the choice was taken away from him, this old man sighs, and he raises his hands away from the pedestal. You see this ritual he was performing suddenly ends as his attention is brought to this halfling, who he has regarded as Elowen. As his hands raise to her, you watch as the blood flowing from her arms captures itself in a globe in the air that he pulls towards himself. And as he holds it in the air above the pedestal, the halfling falls to the ground. You now watch as this old mage is holding this globe of blood. It's enormous, the size of like a basketball. And as he holds it in the air above this pedestal, it's as though he's like reaching but can barely reach something to the side table. And you see that he almost drops the globe of blood. And you see just for a moment true fear in his eyes as he catches it again. And as he's standing there, He holds it. Only now you can't hear anything. And you see his mouth open as if to call someone. Nothing. He stands there, and then he shouts again. You're sure he's shouting, based on just how deep a breath he takes and how open his mouth is. And you don't know how long he's standing there for. But after what seems like an eternity, the door opens, and a man in full plate armor that's black and spotted in blood bursts open the door. He says something. The old mage says something back to him. You watch as the guy in armor looks around on the floor. He shrugs, and then he pulls his rapier out of his belt and sets it on the pedestal. The old mage looks down at it. You can see he looks disappointed. But as he does, he lowers this enormous coalescing globe of blood onto the pedestal, and you watch as it washes around that rapier and sinks into it.
Can I insight check that disappointment? Do I know why he's disappointed?
You can roll insight check.
$16.
16. Based on the look on his face and how he had been looking around, you don't think this is what was supposed to happen.
There was like insofar as it was supposed to be another blade?
You don't know. If it was just supposed to be another blade, why didn't he just pick up the other rapier?
Yeah, why didn't he just pick up the other rapier? I don't get it, yeah.
With a 16 insight, you just can tell that it didn't go according to plan. The old mage sets the blood down on the blade, and you watch as it soaks into it as if absorbing into a sponge, and the rapier glows bright red until it takes on a bright silvery sheen, and the hilt seems to glow until it washes over into polished brass with gold on the hilt, as you recognize for the blade that you currently wield. And as that finishes, the mage slumps over, his hands on the pedestal, and you can then hear him say, "This is truly a shame. Please, protect her with your life." And he looks up at the man in armor. Man in armor, looking confused, steps forward. He picks up the rapier, which is where your attention is now following, and that rapier is sheathed, and you hear him say, in an accent that you don't recognize, "Protect you with my life." And there's a long pause as the old mage looks at him. "Elowen, my daughter, protect her." And the man nods. And it is immediately following that the window is broken in by a wyvern's tail. And explosives, fire, and magic wash into the tower. And the old man is slumped to the side by the explosion, and the man in armor, your attention entirely on him, follows as he runs out of the tower. You then watch, as if accelerated, this man in armor. You learn his name is Kadric. He is a man in the Galician arms. You don't know everything about this man. You know that he doesn't really have any true connections to the blade, but you know that he uses it over what must be 30 years until he passes away. And the blade is left in a closet for a long time. You don't know how long. Then, suddenly, it is found again in daylight. You see it is wielded by a tall, black-haired, pale elf who uses it kind of akin to how you use Soul Singer. One day, you watch as they were fiddling around with it, and they drew it across the strings of a cello. And it played a tune. Delighted, you watch as this elven man begins to use this rapier almost as a party trick. Until you can almost feel the frustration boiling up and over out of the rapier. It reaches out to him, almost scorning him for using her like this. And the man is terrified. He throws the weapon away. The weapon is picked up, used by countless others for various things, nothing of any real use. It is traded to a noble for lots of money. You watch as that happens. Until it is carried by a minstrel. You recognize the lands and mountains of Zephyr. This minstrel is carrying it, and you watch as he crosses through the veil. And you watch as he suddenly is falling in the airplane. He's falling and falling, calling out for help. You watch as an air genie finds him falling and offers him salvation, if only for something in return. And he promises them Soul Singer in save for his life. Elowen, you watch as the rapier glows, seemingly pleased by the name. It was never named before. And as this minstrel falling offers up Soul Singer, the genie accepts it and saves the man. You think. You never actually see what happens. He just suddenly pushes through a portal and is gone. The blade, now in the hands of an air djinn, it's the first time anyone has a real conversation with the rapier since you started watching this. You watch as Soul Singer doesn't tell the air djinn its real name, and the djinn is happy to call it Soul Singer. And you watch as this air djinn wields this rapier everywhere it goes, taking it with it to all sorts of celebrations and parties, using it as a conductor uses a baton to lead musical orchestras, all the while the rapier seeming to vibrate in love of the music that Elowen once played when she was alive. As Soul Singer rings along with this music, you watch something happen that you've never seen Soul Singer do. And that is, at one of the performances, the music was so profoundly beautiful. It was more beautiful than anything you've ever heard in your life. And in that moment, Soul Singer began to vibrate and sing with it. And in this moment, the djinn was both pleased, alarmed, and a little scared that this weapon was singing out to everyone who could hear it in a beautiful voice. The djinn was then... hold on, let me check that out. Okay. That's right. The djinn, pleased at how rare and wonderful this artifact was that he'd found, used it in a duel, which he lost. As the rapier was dropped to the ground, it was collected by his vanquisher, another djinn, one that was much more dangerous. He didn't use Soul Singer for anything worthwhile. Instead, he kept Soul Singer locked up in his home. And you don't know how long he's there, unfortunately. Time doesn't pass the same for us as it does in the airplane, and especially not so for us as it does for djinn. It seems as though time doesn't matter here. And what could be hundreds of years, thousands of years, or a month passes before the case containing Soul Singer is opened, and a young air genasi lifts the blade up and out before wrapping it up in a velvet cloth and your vision on this legend lore goes dark for a short period of time until it reemerges again. There is an all black, shadowy entity looking down at this blade. It has no visible face. It's as though someone's shadow come to life, picks up the rapier in its sheath, and sets it on the wooden surface of a smooth mahogany counter and appraises it. And you hear this entity say, "And what secrets lie in this? The soul bound to a blade, a piece of history." And you watch as this blade is then suddenly, it's as though it's vanished away from where it was, and you see it floating in an astral abyss along with hundreds, thousands of other objects floating with it in this strange pocket of nothing surrounded by nebulae and stars and galaxies. And as it's here, suddenly it's not. Again, you watch it transfer again into the hands of a djinn. A kindly-faced one, looking remarkably human. And as he holds it, he smiles and he says, "Thank you. This will do nicely." And as he takes Soulsinger, you watch from Soulsinger's perspective as it steps through another rift onto a street in Farum and is set down on a cart where it patiently waits until a golden-horned, dark-skinned tiefling appears, looking down at it excited. You know the rest. You come out of the legend lore, and Tabernac says, "Well, I need to roll an Arcana check for Tabernac." "It is always exciting to me to look into the artifacts of old. It is rare indeed to find anything of pre-Aurelian make that is intact and in fact sentient."
Can I roll, like, history or arcana or something on Aurelius? That sounds... He sounds important, considering there's a country that is very similar to his name.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and roll a history.
17.
Yeah, Aurelius is a notable figure in history. Aurelius is a mage. He's known to be a profoundly powerful sorcerer. Before Aurelia became Aurelia, there was a violent coup against the Red Tyrant, a great ancient red dragon that was tyrannical, and basically the reason why Aurelia formed into what it is the Red Tyrant was trying to take all of it for himself. Aurelius, the powerful ancient mage, worked with the hero Kylus to overthrow the Red Tyrant, and it is Aurelius who is responsible for the petrification of the Red Tyrant, who remains atop the Iron Mistress today.
So he's important. And he had a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Tabernac, do you know what he was doing? I mean, he was binding his daughter's soul, but he seemed upset. Like it didn't go right. Do you know what he was trying to do?
I suspect he was... Well, to be frank with you, this is old magic. Things beyond anything I've practiced. I have my suspicions, key among them is I imagine he was attempting to hide his daughter's soul against the incoming invasion. I'm not...
So she wasn't supposed to stay a sword.
I believe not.
Is there a way to get her out of there?
At this point, I do not believe so. Once one is united with something for so long, it becomes who they are. The same can be said of magical spells such as polymorph. If you remain in the form of a creature for too long, you lose yourself and become that. And so I fear Aurelius's daughter is that rapier.
Oh no, that's so...
I did warn you, the origins of old sentient items can be tragic.
No, you did. I appreciate it. I wonder what to do for her. Sounds like she was kind of languishing in a closet, then in some sort of weird astral room full of items for a while, and it was used party trick. I don't... She can't have been happy.
No, I imagine not. It appears as though she was in the possession of a collector of a sort, and then retrieved by one that the collector owed a debt to, it sounded like. Until it found itself in the hands of the djinn who gave it to you.
But I still don't know why, necessarily.
Only one who would know that is the djinn who gave it to you. You could search him out.
Know his name or anything.
You do not have much to go on, unfortunately.
Would that mean going to the plane of air?
If that is where that djinn is.
Seems like with the portals and stuff, he could be almost anywhere.
Agreed. Has the blade told you anything of her origin?
Not really. I think she said she didn't remember much. But she didn't tell me not to do this.
It would make sense for them not to remember, having been bound to a rapier for so long.
Do you think it would be cruel to tell her, or should I?
Perhaps piecemeal.
Okay.
You're good with people, aren't you? Maybe use those skills to your advantage.
Well, she's not a people so much anymore, but
No,
okay.
Tam, that is where you're wrong. She's still very much the mind of a halfling.
Huh. No wonder she likes music. Maybe I should play her some... Maybe we can play some halfling songs together. Maybe she'll like that.
It is worth
I'll
a
ask
try.
Callie. I'll ask Callie. She might know.
She might. Though that might be struck as a bit of racism, not all halflings and such.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. Maybe Callie knows some songs from old pre-Aurelia days. She might recognize.
Perhaps. I wish you
Yeah.
luck.
Thanks, Tabernac.
And now, one of the answers of history's greatest mysteries has been solved.
Oh, what's that?
What happened to Elowin?
Oh. Was that a mystery before?
Yes.
Now we know. He's gonna kind of turn Soul Singer over in his fingers. I don't know how I feel about carrying her.
I imagine she will do better in your hands than kept locked up in a closet, as we've seen.
True. I mean, I didn't really use her much the festival, but it was really important.
You have much to think on this, Temerity. I do not envy you.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would be curious the motives behind the gin that sold her to you.
I am curious. I'm very curious. I think you even told me to be wary of what he might want in return. But maybe he also knew and he just wanted her to be in the hands of an adventurer.
It is possible. The behaviors of jinn are often bizarre and unknowable. The most free-spirited of creatures, unfortunately.
Well, I like a free spirit.
There is such a thing as too much, Tam.
Don't I know it? Okay, well, I guess I'm off to find some pre-Aurelian music.
Very well. And thank you for sharing that with me. That was educational.
Are you going to do anything with the information? Is there like a library or something other than this one?
Before anything else, I'm going to write it down.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's important. Well, happy to help.
And a good day to you. He says as he's already, like, pulling out parchment
pulling
from the stage.
Yeah, Tam skitters away.
So now you know the origins of Soul Singer.
I do. That's interesting. Really, he will legitimately ask Tally, like, the next class session he gets, if she knows any music that Aurelius' daughter might know.
When you say, do you say Aurelius' daughter?
Not while he keeps the rapier in his room.
Okay.
For this.
So, Tally is confused when you ask. She says, I'm sure we can dig up some old folk tunes. Why?
Well...
You looking for old inspiration?
I
Are you trying to pander to some ancient elves?
Ancient halfling, actually.
Huh?
I had Tabernac cast Legend Lore on my sword.
Okay, and?
Turns out she's Aurelius' daughter.
There's a pause as I roll this. Okay. Tally looks at you and she says, the Aurelius?
Mm-hmm.
Is your sword his daughter?
Yep. Yeah, that's what happened to her, apparently. Tabernac was very excited.
Tally's mouth is just slightly agape. Oh. Yeah, sure. Let me see what I can dig up.
This doesn't count as a new story, right?
Nope. You see she's like puzzling it over. Well, maybe... Nope. And she goes to the shelves. She does dig up a couple songs. They're not like authentic original pieces from literally 4,000 years ago, but they are like rewritings and retellings of the same sorts of music as... And you would recognize them, actually. A couple of them, modern songs were completely like reworked from. So,
okay.
it's literally like you're like, oh, I know this one. Like,
Yeah. He's gonna spend as much of the session as she'll let him getting those songs down cold and kind of tracing as much as he can the music, the old, kind of like mapping the old and the new, and really, really specifically learning the older versions as much as he can.
The one thing that you notice is that these songs were written to be played on a flute.
He plays that.
Right. I'm just saying it is not a fiddle song.
Yeah, it's not a fiddle song, but that's great. He perfect. He already plays that.
Okay. You know the flute is like one of the oldest instruments in Amaranth history. So the fact that these songs are played on it is not surprising to you.
Yeah, makes sense.
You don't need to roll anything to do that. You can just learn these songs. That you are a bard. That's what you do.
Okay.
When you decide to play them, it's just going to be a performance check. So,
Yeah.
I will say you can't really use Soul Singer to.
Nah. It'll just be a regular. He's playing. He's playing it for Soul Singer.
Sure. So what is next for Tam? As it's now 8 months into his time skip. Oh, you're playing.
Yeah, I was gonna play the song for Soul Singer, like probably like that night, honestly.
Okay.
Although he would at least tell Sagona. Like, I'm gonna imagine also that like Sagona is his closest compadre through all of this.
Okay.
And like he hangs out with Skolna if he can too, but I imagine he can't find her very much.
Yeah, she's hard to track down.
She's hard to find. She's hard to find. She's a rogue. But I think what he will do for Skolna in particular is he'll just like hang out in one spot that he knows that she shows up at sometimes with a snack she likes. And will just hang out and like play fiddle or like catch up on paperwork or whatever the fuck he has to do, and he will just sit there, and if she's there, the snack will get eaten.
Almost every time she does appear. Like, end up is just like sitting next to Tam, her feet lightly kicking as she's eating the snack or whatever.
Excellent. What is she like? Would he know?
Yeah.
Eventually?
She really likes honeycomb.
Okay, great.
Like, honeycomb candy, anything with honey on it. Like, almost like cracker bread with honey on it. Anything like that, she seems to really get a kick out of.
It's always a different thing. It always has honey on it.
After like maybe like the 10th or 11th time this has happened, and Skolna's sitting there next to Tam, she would just say, "I like this."
Me too, honeybee.
She squints at you. Don't ruin it.
He smirks at her.
She does not leave. She continues to eat whatever honey treat it is that has been left for her. But there is definitely a moment where she's like, "You son of a bitch."
I think he's gotten better at just like holding her, standing his ground, and kind of holding her gaze, and just kind of like lifting an eyebrow. He's starting to be like actually a charming person.
Okay. It only took a charisma of 20 to get it. Fair enough.
It only took him a charisma of 20.
Goodness gracious. Okay.
He had to burn off that theater kid energy. He still has that in his heart.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll say that's what happens. Whenever Tam truly tries to find Skolna, it seems like she becomes aware that he's searching for her. And she will appear. It's kind of creepy.
They did have that moment that one time where he said something like, it's kind of nice that I can't find you because I never know if you're not there, and I just assume that you are.
It seems like she is. Even if she there's no way she actually is, but
yeah,
somehow it seems like it.
It seems like it to Tam, and that's what matters. Tam, he is nothing if not a tiefling of faith.
Ain't that the truth? Faith in Skolna. Okay. with a 14 in performance, so you have Sagona in your room as you're playing the flute for your sword.
And he told her everything. But before he reattuned, like, he told her everything before Soul Singer could hear.
Okay, so you're in your room and Sagona's like on the opposite bed and she's just like hands on chin, like eagerly watching the sword, like waiting to see what happens. And as you begin to play the song with a 14 in performance, you're playing the song and it's like you get maybe like halfway through the song and you swear you hear the sword singing along with the song that you're playing. It's a timid voice. It's definitely not the confident, like, aggressive voice you hear in your head whenever she has something snarky to say or advice to give. It seems like a singing voice that hasn't been used in a long time, but you hear it. And Sagona seems to hear it too, as she's looking up just... And she's, like, looking at you and at the sword as you're playing, and you swear to God you can read on Sagona's face, don't you dare stop.
He will not.
When the song does finally end, and the sword seems to almost mourn the ending of it, do you pick it up?
Is it vibrating or anything? Does it look the same?
It looks the same. You'd have to be holding it to tell if it was vibrating.
He'll reach out. Oh no. He'll reach out and pick up the hilt.
It is vibrating. It's a soft, gentle vibration, as if the string of a lute. And you swear you can hear weeping.
Don't cry, Elwyn.
Who's Elwyn? You didn't come through.
I'm sorry.
It was beautiful.
Don't cry. Don't cry.
I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
I don't know why I'm crying. It's
Do you
weird.
remember this? Because you remember the song.
I remember every word, like I just heard it. Someone sang it to me. I can remember them singing it, but I don't know who they are. They stroked my hair while they sang it.
He's gonna cut his thumb up and down.
You're cutting out.
He's gonna rub his thumb up and down the like hilt. Can't stroke her hair.
Yeah.
But
she like chuckles in your head. It's a bit like that, right? Where did you hear it? I haven't heard that in so long.
I looked for it. I learned it again today.
Thank you.
That spell that Tabernac cast told me some things about you. I don't know if you want to know them all at once, but one of the things was from how far back you go, and I thought maybe the best way to remind you would be to play you some.
Thank you. It brought many things that I didn't remember. Like a tidal wave.
Well, we don't have to do that again for a while.
No.
But now you know.
I'd like it if you played it again sometime.
Can do that.
Thank you.
Hey. You're my sword.
I don't think most have this sort of relationship with their sword.
I don't know. I'm a bard, so I want to make sure. Most people don't have this relationship with their sword, but also most swords don't literally have a person inside them.
That's fair.
And you're not just, you're my sword, but you're a person. And a person loves music.
Roll me a persuasion check with advantage.
Okay.
A 22. The sword begins to vibrate in your hand more than it did before, as if someone is playing a forte note on a lute, like they strummed it really hard. And as it's shaking, what instrument is coming across your mind right now?
It's gotta be a fiddle. It's Tam. It's always a fiddle.
Soul Singer in your hand, suddenly you find yourself holding the neck of a brass and silver fiddle.
Oh no. You changed. Are you still you?
Still me. I've always loved music. It's always been everything to me.
Me too.
I used to play everything I could find. Every song. Every note. Anytime I heard an instrument I didn't know, I wanted to learn it right away. You can now use Soul Singer as a +1 musical instrument.
Ooh. It's exciting.
Soul Singer can turn into whatever instrument you wish at will. It does have to be a musical instrument. She cannot turn into tools or anything like that. As an action, she can transform into any musical instrument, and as an action, she can turn back into a rapier.
Wow, that's so cool.
You have awakened Soul Singer.
Wow. So does that mean my spell save goes up by 1?
By 1.
That's really cool.
You also still have advantage on performance checks whilst you use Soul Singer, although you do not have to use her just as the bow for a fiddle. Now you can use Soul Singer for whatever instrument you like.
Wow. I can learn anything. We can learn it together. Oh, we can figure out how to transpose that song onto a fiddle if you want.
That'll be fun.
Flute and fiddle go great together.
I can't play it by myself.
Oh, well, I got you. That's what I'm... We're a team. You and me.
You can't help but feel this emotion of just pleased coming from Soul Singer. So?
That Ham will spend the rest of the night. First of all, he will take requests from Sigona, because that's,
Sigona watches all this happen, and when it turns
an audience.
into the room, she's like, "Fuck me!"
So yeah, I mean, they can transpose the thing. They can play dwarven songs. Does Sigona dance? Yeah, she
does dance. She's a dwarf. She absolutely dances.
She's a dwarf.
It's not
she
very
got
good,
dance.
but she does.
Yeah, she does.
She
a little
will
dance party.
Also whisper to you. At one point, Sigona says, "I don't know about you, but that voice sounded hot."
I know, right?
That was a beautiful singing voice. She's
she
like
is.
Sigona. Sigona seems to be very enthralled by your weapon.
She has really pretty eyes too.
What? Right, you said. Sigona just is amused at the whole situation.
I think the other thing with Sigona, he did sing her that song that he wrote for her,
Mhm.
which he will have eventually also shyly, probably at Sigona's poking him in the ribs a bunch. He will eventually finally play that for Tally, with under duress because it's not for school, it's for you.
Sigona will say, "I don't care. It was gorgeous."
So like I imagine that he has a little book of songs that he's, songs and stories and a little that he.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I think Tally would have been very impressed by the song for Nier. Sigona would have absolutely been very pleased at how that happened. But as we're nearing the end of the time skip, I gotta know what else it is that you'd be doing.
Let's see, what else do I have here?
It can't.
What else do I have here? I have this is important.
Okay.
He does need to stop. He does need to continue. He wants to finish learning Celestial from Taunus.
Okay. It really depends on how avid a learner Tam is. This is going to be a straight intelligence roll to see how long it takes.
Yeah, it's not great at that. Come on, buddy.
4. It takes a while. Unfortunately, it takes away from money that you could earn. He does eventually learn Celestial, but it takes a while. It isn't until like the 10th month of the time skip that you finally get it. And when you finally speak fluently back to Taunus, she's like, "Thank the gods. I mean, well done. Well done." Just it's like that the pieces finally click.
Yeah.
And it's like he couldn't see past the strange script work of Celestial until finally he could.
100%. It was 100%. The reading and the writing and the reading is always the hard part for him. Probably the speaking is okay. It's the reading and the writing that's the hard part.
Well, it's very melodic and harmonious. It's almost like Gaelic in how it sounds, but also like Gaelic in how hard it is to read. So
makes sense. The people that were writing that were figuring out how to word things, how to spell things, and the people that were figuring out how they are pronounced were in 2 separate rooms.
Yes.
So it is probably after one of the ends of these sessions that it's important to note, about a month after the fall festival, he stopped carrying around the mood orb.
Okay. That is important to note.
Yeah, it's important to know. He still has it, but he doesn't carry it around. And a part of why he stopped carrying it around, actually, is because it was usually, for Tam, it's usually like a blue-green, which is a happy. And it was really, started to just really consistently be yellow and gray. Because he's so worried.
Yeah.
I think he's hiding it better. But
it's hard
he's
to
worried.
hide it when you're wearing a orb that tells everyone what it is.
Exactly. And I think he stopped carrying around because he didn't want people to worry about him. Which does mean that he's maybe getting, by accident, a little bit better at hiding his feelings. But not that good.
Sure.
Still Tam. So I think at the end of one of these sessions, he would look at Taunus and say, "Do you want to be on my team after we graduate?"
Taunus looks at you, and there's like a pause. Why do you ask?
I don't want to make it weird for you.
I think I know what you're getting at. Your excellent company, your unending enthusiasm, makes even the most dull of tasks seem enjoyable.
Right.
Your team has been entertaining to be a part of. As a full-fledged contractor, there are lots of things I'd like to pursue. Some of them might be back home.
But you'll be safe.
I intend to never be seen, should I return home. I will say, you have grown much in the last year. He didn't say anything.
Thanks.
I will also say that I fear our chemistry is doomed to fail in the long run.
Yeah. Doesn't really work.
Your mic is cutting out really bad.
I don't know why. It doesn't really work if it's one-sided. Huh.
I'm afraid not. I will always consider you a dear friend, though. Does that help?
It sure does. Of course it does.
Good.
You're you know already.
I do.
You know.
I can see you saying it in my mind now. As you have many times before.
I'm sorry.
Never apologize for who you are. It is your unique attitude that makes you different from everyone else. Never apologize for it.
Just head up a little higher. Thanks, Thomas.
Of course.
You gotta let me know how you're doing over there, though.
Oh, have no fear.
If you need a friend, you got one.
Be not afraid. Should I need your help, I will not be afraid to ask for it.
Good.
She stands, and as she, picks up the pages of the primer for Celestial, she pointedly looks down at you. I'm not going to hug you sitting down, am I?
Sam will get up.
Thomas hugs you. It's a firm one. Which, knowing Thomas as long as you have, know that these are rare.
Tam hugs her back and doesn't overstay welcome.
How is Tam doing after that?
Is Sagona available?
Is Sagona available? She's around.
Drink.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Drink.
Absolutely. When you
Drink.
pursue Sagona to go drink, she's like, about fucking time! I think Sagona's insight, which is insane, would read that Tam is hurting, though. And Sagona would keep Tam from actually hurting himself.
He would, I think that this is what happens to the orb. Brings it along with him. And he plays with it. He's throwing it around. Never good colors.
Mm-hmm.
Gives it to a little kid. With, he uses, minor illusion and thaumaturgy, and, he makes a show out of it. But kind of, probably not that night, because he'll be drinking late, but the next morning, he'll give it to a kid.
Okay.
Say, this is special, and you should have it.
Oh, fancy. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The kid seems delighted by it, and it reflects those colors. When you do that, Sagona, nudges you and says, "You're a good guy, Tam."
Thanks, best friend. I needed that.
Has there ever been any doubt? You're like the nicest guy in all of the fucking academy. She, like, looks back at the thing and she says it.
That can't be true.
Of course it can.
I can't think of anyone right now, but I'm sure it's not true. Milos is really nice. Milos is so nice.
Milos is pretty nice.
See?
I don't know, he has a... I don't know, it's like restrained nice. You're like
All right.
unbridled kind to everyone, you know?
Okay. That I'll grant you. I am the most unrestrainedly nice person that you know.
And
sure.
that's great.
That's fine. Yeah, okay.
She slaps you on the ass as you walk back towards the academy.
Let's go meet a god. There's apparently a god. The god of wonder is in the monk classroom.
Skona's like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to the monk classroom. You see no sign of Levi in the monk classroom. But you do see a pair of monks that are training. I don't know if Tam has met the monks.
I don't know if he has.
I don't think so. What an interesting situation. Regardless, as you enter, you find yourself looking at an almost ancient-looking man training them. You see a brown-haired man with a long ponytail and a blue-haired woman whose hair is like the color of coral. And they all three turn and look at you as you enter the monk's classroom. And the monk instructor says, "Hello. Can
Hello.
we be of assistance?"
I don't want to disturb your training at all,
Hmm?
but Levi said that the god of wonder is in this classroom, and I would love to meet them.
I see. Then perhaps it is best that you begin to search.
Okay.
Do not get lost.
He looks at Sagona.
Sagona shrugs. I'd never been in here before. Which
Yeah, but you don't get lost very easily, though.
she kind of nods. You've never been in the monk classroom.
Nope.
It is not a room.
Okay.
You are standing in about an inch of water.
Oh, fun.
All around you are massive trees that loom higher than you can see. The canopy blocks any sunlight. It is well lit, but it seems to be unending in all directions as you look around. It's like you're in a forest with these towering trees and a very peaceful and calm air that doesn't seem to move at all. So, if you're going to search for the God of Wonder in here, I need a few things.
Okay.
I need an investigation, and I need a D100.
Incredible. Yes! Yes! Natural 19.
Okay.
21.
I need a D100.
Come on. Tam needs some wonder.
50.
50.
As you walk throughout this classroom, it is... Bless you. It is enormous.
Goodness.
It is so... You don't see the end of it. And it's all flat. There's no hills anywhere. And as you're walking around, you find yourself now walking in places where it's like you're just walking on water. There's no trees anywhere. And the water is perfectly calm and placid in all directions. Until suddenly you come across, low wreaths of sand and then grass. It's bizarre. You've never been any place like this before. How would Tam look for a god?
He would pray to it.
What does that sound like?
I can't offhand find the God of Wonder's name. What is
Myriad.
Tam? Myriad. Sure. So Tam lowers his head, and out of his pocket he takes a long time ago Taunus made him a little coin that like walks
Yeah, they can
around.
walk around, yeah.
That Tam wonders at everything, but he was particularly enamored of this wondrous thing that this girl he liked made for him. And so he holds it in his hands and he lets it walk over his hands, closes his eyes, and he says, Myriad, I don't know how often you take visitors, but things are hard. I could use a little wonder. I could use a reminder of what makes the world beautiful and compassionate and strange. And I think you can show me? Please?
Roll me a persuasion check.
23.
When you open your eyes, standing before you is a very tall figure wearing a mask, or maybe their face is the mask. You can't tell. It's a rainbow dappling of color. You hear in your head, someone as creative as you shouldn't need my help, should you?
I don't know. Sorrow, it does things to a person.
Look through the storms within you and see what colors they bring. For they can be the most beautiful.
Okay.
You didn't say anything.
That's good advice.
If you're
What
looking
kind-
for strange,
I am.
you need not but look around you here. You don't know where you are, do you?
No.
Look in the water.
Okay. He does that.
How?
I think because they're standing in water.
Yeah,
Right?
you're just standing in it.
I think he just looks down at his reflection.
You would hear in your mind, no, look in the water.
Okay. He leans down and gets his greaves all wet.
Mhm.
And kind of looks down through it in kind of where he is now, and then kind of forward, kind of into the depths.
Do you, like, you're just like looking, your like face is looking down into the water, or?
Yeah, he's trying to see what's in it. He's trying to see, like, he's
Can't-
trying to actually look.
You can't really see in the water. It's like your reflection is blocking your own view.
Okay, he dives in.
Okay, so what happens is, as your face breaks the surface of the water, suddenly you see next to you, your hands are, it's as if they're just leaning on something invisible within the water. But your face pushes past them. You suddenly see down below you abyss, depths, but hidden amongst them, I need you to roll me a D100.
Whoa! Unexpected. 42. Life, the universe, and everything.
Yep, good number. You see, almost inverse to your position, you see an enormous tower peering up out of the abyss towards you. You can see windows that seem to hint at red curtains that flap out in the water, but they're not moving, as if frozen. And you see at the base of the tower entire yards. And in that yard you see there is a bound hippogriff that's not moving. It looks as though it's about to take off, its wings outstretched, but it's frozen there.
Can I get to it? Can I swim to it?
Yeah, you can swim down to it if you'd like. Roll me athletics. $15. You swim into the water. Suddenly, you're breaking down and swimming straight down. And as you swim down toward it, the tower looms up towards you, and you approach until the hippogriff is right in front of you. Its beak open, its wings outstretched, as if it's about to take off, and it is frozen there.
Does it look like it's in pain?
No, it looks like it was intent. Its face is, like, focused, as if it was preparing to fly.
Can I touch it?
Do you touch it?
Yeah.
Its fur is soft. The feathers behind it are, they're malleable and pliable. You feel the texture of them.
I'm gonna think in my head, because I don't know if Myriad is still with me, I'm gonna think, what, is it trapped? Why isn't it moving?
It is lost in time.
Am I in, like, time water right now?
A way of putting it. You
How
are
would you
in the
put it?
temporal plane.
Oh, wow. Am I lost in time right now?
Only if you stay here too long.
No wonder you hang out here. This is really cool.
This is my home.
What can I do for you?
Be yourself. Stay imaginative. And as you dream your dreams and live your, well, fantasies, sometimes I get to peek in.
Can I give you this? He kind of surfaces up in the water and holds up the coin.
Myriad leans way over, looking extremely close, like his mask is like inches away from it. And then he reaches up with a six-fingered hand and plucks it, looking at it. Thank you.
Me.
Curious.
That's what I thought too.
It has such a history.
Does. Important to me.
That is why it matters. I accept your offering. And then as he stands up, you blink and he's gone.
I think Tam, like, floats on his back in time water.
It's just water.
Yeah, it's just regular water. But
Yeah.
it's also time water, and that's cool.
Sure.
Is it going?
As you're, like, floating on your back, Sagona, like, looks over at you and says, "What the fuck just happened?"
Did you see a Myriad that was just here?
No?
Myriad was just here. He told me to be myself and to, you know, use my imagination. And then I gave him the coin that Tanis gave me. And
One
he
minute
accepted
we're
my
walking.
offering.
1 minute we're walking, and the next you're jumping into the water, and then you're up here.
He told me to do it. There's a hippogriff down there.
She's like standing on the water that you're currently floating on your back in.
There's a hippogriff down there. It's the temporal plane. He says that we're into temporal plane. I think this is why we were told not to get lost.
Speaking of which, we should go.
Yeah. Tam will clamber up out of the water, soaking
So,
wet.
It's weird, as you step up out of the water falls away, and you're not wet.
Oh, interesting.
And you, like, push yourself up out of the water on the water, and then you can just stand on it.
Tam is gonna use thaumaturgy, create some ripples on the water.
They seem to go forever.
Smiles at that. How wondrous. He hasn't smiled a lot last couple of days. He smiles now.
Sigona would nudge him really hard. And then be
Ow!
like, let's go!
Yeah,
You
okay, yeah, we're
fucking
going.
dork! And then
Okay.
and she leads the way back. As you're walking back, the sea elf woman, or perhaps it's a water genasi, you're not sure. She, like, steps out from behind trees. It looks like she's been training a lot. She's sweating and out of breath. And she says, in not very clean common, she says, "What all you find?"
I'm gonna talk to her in Primordial. Can she speak Primordial?
Do you try?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you say?
I'm gonna say, we found Myriad, the god of wonder.
You see her face just is like a wash of relief. And she says, in Primordial back to you, she says, "Let me tell you, it's rare to find someone who can speak the old language as I can." And Sigona's like, what? She just is surprised as the two of you are speaking.
Are you Aquin? Are you Aquin?
She nods her head and she says, I hail from the shelf. It's rare to find someone that speaks. You found Myriad. That's what Levi was talking about before he left. Where was?
I just prayed. I just prayed.
Oh, I tried that. He just didn't hear me, I guess.
Oh, well, I prayed and I also I offered him some.
Okay. Sorry, I'm Wash, and she like holds out her hand to you.
Temerity. I think we maybe met once.
Probably.
A long time ago in the lunchroom.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think. No, don't worry about it. Hey, your comment is coming along.
It's not. I'm really bad at it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's all...
It's okay. It's okay. Celestial didn't make a lot of sense to me for a really long time either. But hey, do you have a team?
No.
Do you want a team?
She blinks. And she says, I was just going to ask Persh who I should work with.
Hey, Sigona, Tanis isn't going to be with us. I mean, you know. Do you want to... We could use a monk, right?
Sigona, like, looks Wash up and down, and you see, like, her lips, like, tweak up in a weird smile, and she says, oh, yeah. You'll do nicely.
Oh, my God. Be cool, Sigona.
I'm the coolest dwarf you ever met.
I know. Yeah, you are. He'll switch back to Primordial. I mean, I bet the rest of the team would love to have you.
You don't even know what I can do. Are you sure? I mean,
you could show me, but I mean, you're here. You're one of us. You don't have a team. I got a team, pretty good team, and I can speak your language.
All right, yeah, I'm sold. Sure, we can at least try it out. What's the worst that'll happen? It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have recruited Wash Hayoskaya, the Way of the Elements monk, to your team.
Great.
I didn't expect that to happen from that encounter.
I was honestly, like, Emily was planning on trying to go after Lilith because I thought that it would be funny. But
that would be funny.
but Tam doesn't know Lilith, and he did meet Wash that one time, and I don't know, he picks up on vibes, and she has a good vibe, and she doesn't have anybody. And what does Tam do but adopt people that don't have anyone else and be their friend?
That's fair. Wash seems both relieved and pleased.
Excellent.
Tam would know there's probably not a lot of people in the Merigard who can speak Primordial.
Yep.
So, with that, as you recruit Wash. We're coming to the end of your time skip. Is there any last thing you'd like to accomplish before we call it?
Is any last thing on my list? I did have a couple other things, but I don't know if they're like possible for him to do. Actually, yes, there is one last. He will, close to the end of his time skip, go to the cleric classroom.
Okay.
And I think he's been... It's not like he's been avoiding that. Like it's just that he would be hanging out there more. It's just that he has so much other shit to do. He has not forgotten his god. And he wrote a song for his god.
For Magos.
So, for the fiddler.
Okay.
But to be fair, he also hasn't forgot. That's important. He also hasn't forgotten Magos. And he has... Is there a temple? I can't remember. There's a temple of Magos, right?
There is not a temple to Magos in Faerûn. Okay.
He goes every... I think I asked you this question before, whatever the day was, whatever the holy day was for Magos. If there's a celebration, there's like a yearly Magos celebration or something like that, he shows up for that.
Okay.
If there's, and even a couple of like the holy days, like if he goes to pray to the fiddler, he leaves something for Magos too. He belongs to someone else, like he knows that he can have a relationship with multiple gods, but like his primary god is definitely the fiddler. He has a little holy symbol for the fiddler now. But he has his Magos holy symbol too. It's just not displayed. And he does leave. I don't think he really prays. He just sort of says the words. But he does leave offerings on the altar of Magos. And the offerings are mostly lore bard stuff.
Okay.
Like if he learns something particularly interesting, if he has some searing insight from doing like a lore, like because sometimes, when you're reading, like every so often he would get that little jolt. It wouldn't happen very often for him, but he would get that little jolt of like, ooh, I learned a cool thing. And if that happens, he pays attention to that. And he copies that down and he puts that on Magos' altar. Because he's a lore bard, he's not completely abandoned Magos. But he does feel like Magos has abandoned him. So he will do that, but for the fiddler, much more regular, he goes and he plays his fiddle. And especially after Soulsinger awakens himself, he will play Soulsinger for Magos. Or for the fiddler.
Okay. Every time you play for the fiddler, you feel a little bit more of that presence, as though you were heard. You feel blessed. You feel satisfaction in being heard. Every time you leave an offering for Magos, you feel a similar feeling. You feel seen. You feel respected. It's that satisfied feeling you get after a good conversation. Even though it always seems one-sided, you feel like you were heard.
I think Tam loves to talk to gods. He has not even once except for, I guess there was that one time he kind of like said something under his breath.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't really directly, he's not like, he leaves offerings, but he's not ever really prayed the altar of Magos. And Sigona, with her crazy high insight, would definitely recognize that is because Tam is afraid to.
I don't think Sigona would ever push him. Sigona would instead just talk about how clear her head feels after she's talked to Nier. The couple times that Nier has responded, she talks about it being like an otherworldly experience of talking to the storm itself. But most of the time, whenever the topic does come up, she just says, yeah, Nier's a good listener.
that's pretty much how it goes. And I do actually have a song, but if we don't have time for it, that's okay. We can bump it some other time. He can sing anytime.
I will always leave that up to you.
All right, we'll do it.
Okay.
Do it. I will preface this by saying this is not a song that I have written, but I did change some of the wording.
Okay.
Some were made to serve the god, and some were made to wonder, some to fear the lightning bolt, and others laugh at thunder. But I was made to play the fiddle, to hear it sing, to hear the angels dream of softer wings. Hear devils stomp and scream, where does music come from? Where does it go? I may know by and by. I draw the bow and I feel my heart fly. I draw the bow and I feel my heart fly. Some may carve through wood or stone to find a thing of beauty, and some may chase a cause around the world for love or duty. But I was made to play the fiddle, to hear it sing, to hear the angels dream of softer wing. Hear devils stomp and scream, where does music come from? Where does it go? I may know by and by. I draw the bow and I feel my heart fly. I draw the bow and I feel my heart fly. All those who watch the moon and stars build their lives by hand, and those who live in cities proud and tall, I count them all my friend. And I was made to play the fiddle, hear it sing, hear the angels dream of softer wing. Hear devils stomp and scream, where does music come from? Where does it go? I may know by and by. I draw the bow and I feel my heart fly. I draw the bow and I feel my heart fly. And then he breaks into a reel on the fiddle.
That was beautiful. You've sung a lot of songs to the fiddler. I think, at this point, with how regular and often he has, please roll me a D100.
Okey-doke. $93.
93. Okay. You feel this electric energy pass through you. You feel music that fits along with your fiddle playing behind you. You have accompanying you the fiddler blessing you. And as you have always made it a point to sing to the fiddler in your prayer, you have earned yourself a boon. Your boon is the Song of Fate. Whenever you use a bardic inspiration die, once per short rest you can choose it to be a maximum roll.
Whoa! That's awesome.
So, if someone uses a bardic inspiration you've given them, or if you use it yourself, you can say that's a maximum, once per short rest.
Incredible. So, like, if I'm using it to, like, cutting words something, I'm like, well, that's an 8. It goes down by 8.
Once per short rest.
Once per short rest. Incredible.
So, make a note, boon, Song of Fate.
Does Tam realize this is happening to him?
You feel that energy pass through you, and you understand you can now do that. It's like you put your all into one bardic inspiration.
Incredible. Wow. Tam is electric. He's ecstatic. I don't know if Sagona was there for that performance. He usually drags her along if he's going to talk to the gods. But does it mark him or anything, or is it just in him?
That's a good question. Let me look at the boon. Yes, it does mark you. You now have a tattoo of a rest note somewhere on you.
Okay.
It is not an ink tattoo. It is magical, and it glows whenever you use the feature.
That, I think, for Tam...
We could roll for where it is, or you can pick.
I think it'd be around here.
Okay.
Like right under his eyes.
I almost asked you if you knew what a rest note looks like. Of course you do. Yeah, okay. Sure. It's right below the temple. Perfect. I'll say that happens right towards the end of your time skip.
All right.
And then you know that tomorrow is your day to prove to Tally you're ready to graduate.
Okay.
And that is where we will call the session. Man, you had a lot to cover.
Sorry.
It's okay. No, that was interesting. Okay. As your time skip comes to an end and we prepare for your graduation to become a true contractor for the Merigard Mercenary Company, that's where we're going to end tonight's session. So to all of you who are at home or at work watching, hi, Pen. We love you.
Hi, Ben.
And we'll see you all next time. I can't wait. Good night, everyone.
Good night.